Ever wonder what the hell is happening with your hormones? I'm Kate Nguy, certified women's hormone health practitioner and cycle syncing strategist, and this is What the Hormones, where we decode PMS, perimenopause, burnout, and the chaos of midlife with real talk and real strategies. Whether you're here for hormone insights, expert conversations, or just need to know you're not alone in this, know that you are in the right place. So let's cut through that confusion and jump into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back to What the Hormones. Today, we're talking about 3 of the most popular wellness trends right now, why they can work brilliantly for some bodies and then actively backfire for others, specifically for women who are already dealing with chronic stress, HPA axis dysregulation, and the hormonal chaos that comes with entering midlife. But before I get into the trends themselves, I want to lay a little bit of foundation here for us, because this is the piece that makes everything else make sense. So chronic stress, it's the primary driver for hormone disruption in women. Not aging, not bad luck, not a mysterious imbalance that just appears out of nowhere. The invisible load that so many of us are carrying, which is the mental load of the household, the emotional labor of your relationships, not just with your partners, but with your kids, family members, community members, etc. And then the relentless second shift of managing everything for everyone. That load, it creates a stress response in your body that, if left unaddressed, progressively wrecks your hormones. So here's the mechanism that's happening in your body. Your body, it runs on a system called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. When stress is detected in your system, this system releases cortisol. Now, cortisol is not the villain here. It's essential for life building. But when it's chronically elevated and it never really comes down, when your body is running on a low-grade stress alarm all day, every day, it starts stealing resources from your reproductive hormones. Your progesterone begins to drop, your estrogen becomes dysregulated, and then your cycle gets worse. And your perimenopause symptoms, they intensify. So your nervous system forgets what safety feels like. So this is the context your hormones live inside your body. And it's why certain wellness trends designed for bodies that are starting from a place of relatively calm and resilience can actually send an already dysregulated system deeper into the red. So let's talk about these trends. So the first one I want to talk about is intermittent fasting, which essentially is skipping breakfast. And I want to be really clear here. I am not an anti-intermittent fasting person. It is genuinely well researched on its benefits. But here's where it gets a little bit murky. It works really well for men's bodies and men's hormonal systems. And I know that some women will say they also feel like it really works for them as well. So if you feel like it's working in your body, but you're having other hormonal flare-ups or some chaos or imbalances that are happening, I would say maybe work with a practitioner and really analyze, is it working or is there something else going on in the body that makes it feel like it's working? Because here's the context. So here's the piece that a lot of the 16-8 crowd doesn't always mention. For women who are already dealing with chronic stress and HPA axis dysregulation, which is a huge portion of the female population, skipping breakfast isn't a biohack. It actually creates a stress signal in your body. Think about it from the body's perspective. Your nervous system, it's already dysregulated. You're already running elevated cortisol. You wake up in the morning, which is when your cortisol naturally peaks anyways. And then as part of that cortisol awakening response, you don't eat. Your body registers that as scarcity, as famine, And in response, accordingly, it stays alert. It mobilizes resources. It does not waste energy on things like ovulating or on a smooth hormonal cycle, because it's already feeling like it's not in a safe environment. Your cortisol, it spikes even higher trying to maintain your blood sugar. Your insulin starts to get wobbly, and your body, brilliant survival-oriented mechanism that it is, it begins to deprioritize your reproductive hormones. In a 2010 study published in the Journal of Obesity, it found that intermittent fasting significantly increased your cortisol and perceived stress for women. Research out of the UC Davies found that habitual breakfast skippers showed a disrupted cortisol rhythm. Not just a skipped meal, but an actual dysfunction in the HPA axis pattern. And we know that extended fasting, it disrupts our estrogen, our progesterone, and our cortisol in ways that don't serve women who are already hormonally stressed. So once again, just remember, I'm talking about the woman who's already feeling like she's living in a chronic stress state most days. So, what's a safer version for people who want to intermittent fast? Because there is, like I said, valid research showing some of the benefits of intermittent fasting. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We want to look at how we can modify it to really help women's bodies, women's hormones, and women who perhaps in midlife are having a high stress load, but still want to entertain the idea of intermittent fasting. So here's a safer version, a 12 to 13 hour overnight window rather than that 16 hour. So essentially what this looks like is that you would eat dinner at 7 p.m. at the latest, and then you would not eat breakfast again until 8 a.m. Now, here's a caveat here. We want to make sure that you're eating within a 60 to max 90-minute window of waking up. So if you're waking up at 5 a.m., then you're going to have to adjust your numbers so that way you're eating by 6:30 in the morning, okay? So we don't want to push the body for that stress response past that 60 to 90-minute window in the morning for breakfast. But it just means that we shift our hours in the evening so that way we eat accordingly to provide that fast while we're in the evening and while we're sleeping. But our mornings, it is really important that we eat. This way, your body gets the overnight metabolic reset without reading it as a threat. And this keeps all of the benefits. It keeps the blood sugar stability that you're striving for with intermittent fasting. It keeps the digestive rest window so that we're really helping our digestive system and our gut health. It's doing all of this without sending your nervous system into another round of alarm bells first thing in the morning. So this is how we can shift our framework of intermittent fasting to really fit the female hormonal body. Okay. Next one, trend number 2 that I want to talk about is cold plunges. I know that this is a big one. I know that there's so many people talking about cold plunges right now, and I genuinely love that this conversation is happening in the wellness space. The research on cold water exposure and vagal tone activation, mood regulation, inflammation, it's interesting and it's real. And I don't want to take that away from anybody who just loves their cold plunges. But here is what gets left out in those Instagram highlight reels of women, praising the effects of cold plunges that I think we need to talk about. So let's first talk about the fact that the recovery benefits for women happen at a far less extreme temperature than what you're seeing in those videos. And for a woman who is already cortisol loaded, already running on chronic stress response, already trying to coax her nervous system towards safety, an extreme cold plunge is just one more reason for her body to brace. The intense experience, the full submersion, the ice bath temperatures, the gasping for air shock, is a significant psychological stressor. It activates a cortisol response in your body. Research on sex differences in cold water immersion has found that women experience elevated cardiovascular strain compared to men during those cold exposures. We are not the same bodies. We do not need the same dose. And here's the beautiful, almost anticlimactic truth, is that you do not need to suffer for the benefits of a cold plunge. So here's how we can adapt it to fit our hormonal system and get all the same benefits. We can use running water over our wrists. We can splash cold water on our face. A cool, not ice cold rinse at the end of our shower. These activate the vagus nerve too, and they support the mood lift. They give you everything you're actually looking for without asking your already taxed adrenals to decide whether this is an emergency or not. So if the cold plunge is genuinely invigorating for you and you feel great afterwards, amazing. But if you're leaving it feeling more anxious, more wired, more depleted, or you're just really not liking it and doing it because it's supposed to be good for you, then here's how we can adjust this. These are simple ways that you can get the same benefits without doing the intensity. And it really does show that it pays off in the female hormonal body just as good as doing those extremes, if not better. Like I said before, those extremes are great for the male body, but for us women who carry a lot of stress, it can be too much for our stress state in our bodies. So this is a gentle way that we can still get the same benefits without all that intensity. Trend number 3, daily HIIT or intense cardio all the time. So this one is the hardest for a lot of women to hear because movement has been their outlet potentially to relieve their stress. The one thing that they do all the time that's something that they choose for them, the part of their day that belongs to them. And I can deeply respect that. I used to be a runner. I know what it felt like to, be by myself and to go and do this thing after a long day in the office. So I need to really just be clear that movement is not the enemy here. And I'm not telling you not to do cardio or not to do certain things. Movement is important, but I need you to hear about the rest component and how we have to rethink how we're doing cardio. So daily high intensity cardio without adequate recovery stacked on top of chronic stress load that you're already carrying is where it starts working against you. And here's why. The body cannot distinguish between the stress of a hard workout and the stress of relentless mental load, a difficult conversation, a night of broken sleep, or a nervous system that hasn't had a full rest in months. It all runs through the exact same system. The HPA axis, the same one that we've been talking about this whole episode, is what gets impacted. And when that system is already overwhelmed, when your baseline cortisol is already elevated, adding daily, highly intense outputs without any real recovery is asking far more from the body when it's running in a deficit. A 2025 systematic review and network meta-analysis looked at different exercise modalities and their effects on cortisol regulation in people with psychological distress. The finding that stood out to me was that yoga and mind-body practices consistently supported cortisol regulation, while HIIT showed what they called dose-sensitive responses, meaning that the benefits depended heavily on how much, how often, and what else your body is already managing. Now, I want to be fair here because researcher Dr. Stacy Sims, who studies women and exercise specifically, makes the important point that HIIT is not inherently bad for women. The chronic adaptation to HIIT can actually lower baseline cortisol over time. So this is not a never do HIIT conversation. It's a daily HIIT with no recovery while you're already running on empty is a problem conversation. So it's important to have that distinction. The evidence-backed sweet spot for high-intensity workouts for women navigating chronic stress and hormonal shifts is roughly 2 or 3 sessions per week with real recovery built around them. So remember that strength training is also really important. It supports hormonal balance, and in ways chronic cardio doesn't. Slower restorative movements, yoga, walking, stretching, they support HPA axis regulation in ways that a 3 a.m. boot camp cannot do. So proper fuel, proper recovery, and the understanding that the output is not always the answer. That's what the reframe is here. So now that we've covered the 3 wellness trends that, are quite popular right now, let's look at what wellness hacks should we be investing in that actually work to support our hormones as well as regulate our stress response. So these are things that we can simply add into our day to help reduce that cortisol load and help the body begin to reset the patterning that's saying that it's always in that stressed state. The reason we want to do these 3 things is because these 3 things layered into our approach with activity and fitness and wellness, these 3 things is what's going to regulate your nervous system enough that it's going to be more tolerant to these other 3 wellness trends that we were talking about. Those 3 wellness trends that we just discussed and explored, they become impactful on the body in a negative way because of our stressed out state, right? And so if we're doing these 3 other wellness trends that I'm about to mention, they help regulate the nervous system, and our body has more tolerance to be able to do those other things without impacting the hormonal system. So the first one, number 1, humming or gargling. I know it probably sounds a little too simple. Both of these directly activate our vagus nerve. It's the nerve that's responsible for shifting the body out of the stress mode and into safety. So a few minutes of humming while you make your morning tea or gargling with water after you brush your teeth, they may sound like nothing, but they register in your body as safety. That signal of safety, that shifts your nervous system so that way it can impact the pathways of hormone regulation. So try weaving those throughout your day as mini stress disruptors throughout the whole day. So doing them more than just once. Think about, hey, it's been a few hours. Maybe I should just hum while I'm walking to go get coffee. Or maybe I should hum while I'm doing the dishes. Like, find ways to integrate these randomly throughout your day to reset your nervous system. Second tool that I'm going to offer you, eating protein within 90 minutes of waking. I kind of already talked about, eating before when we wake up in the morning, when we're talking about intermittent fasting, but in particular right now, I want to talk about eating protein. So making sure that protein is a part of your breakfast. By no means am I saying only protein for breakfast. We need to have lots of good fiber in our protein or in our breakfast as well. And we need to have some carbohydrates as well to help with the fueling for our body. So let's go back here. Eating protein within 90 minutes of waking. Not coffee, not a handful of almonds, but actual protein. Things like eggs, Greek yogurt, a protein shake, leftover chicken from last night's supper. All of these will stabilize your blood sugar first thing in the morning, which supports your cortisol rhythm, which sets the hormonal tone for the entire day. I cannot tell you how many women make this one change and feel measurably different in their cycle. To be honest, it was the top hack that helped me come out of hormonal chaos at 42. It is foundational to do this one thing to really support your hormones. And then the third one that I have to offer you today is morning sunlight in your eyes. As you're hopefully listening to this podcast, we are in the summer months right now, so the sun is there. This is an easy, free thing for us to do. Get outside within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, no sunglasses, and just let the natural light hit your retinas. This is not a wellness gimmick. This actually supports our circadian rhythm. Morning light anchors your circadian rhythm, which directly supports your cortisol curve, which directly influences how your sex hormones function throughout the day. 10 minutes, that's all you need. It's free, and it's one of the most evidence-backed tools that we have to date. So that's it. Those three things, those three little things will tend to your stress response and allow you to create an environment where you're tending to your hormones. The symptoms you're experiencing are not random. They are not just aging. They are signs from a system that is overwhelmed and overloaded. And these tools speak directly to the system. Your hormones, they are not broken. They are just responding exactly as they were designed to everything that you've been carrying. The way through isn't doing more. It's doing things slightly different, perhaps. I have written a full blog post on this exact topic. You can find the link and read it all in the show notes below. And if you're sitting here thinking, okay, but I need to actually understand what's happening in my body, not just a general pattern, that's what your hormone clarity call is for. It's a space for you to share what you've been experiencing, ask your questions, and then get real answers about what's actually going on hormonally in your body. You can book your free clarity call by clicking the link in the show notes below and booking a time with me. Until next time, remember, midlife isn't you falling apart. It's you falling into your truth. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss one. And hey, share it with your bestie who may also be wondering what the hell is going on with her hormones. Until next time, remember, you deserve to feel good in your body, and together, we will figure it out.